Hi, my name's Gordon Beaming, and in this video I'm going to show you how to migrate Git repositories to Azure DevOps. Okay, so we're going to start off in the repos vertical of the project that we want to import our repo to. For this demo I'm going to use a project that I have out on GitHub, which has a little bit of code that helps you bulk import repos from one Azure DevOps project to another. It's not much, basically a bunch of some code in the project CS, and you basically uncomment the one line after doing an import or export, and that lets you do the import. Okay, so we're going to go back to our project and we're going to create a new repo. So we're going to give that a name. We're not going to use the README for this, so that will create us a completely empty repo. As you can see on the page, it obviously gives you all the ways that you can do imports. We're going to click on the import to bring up that dialog, and then we're going to grab the clone URL out of GitHub. We'll go back to that dialog and just paste that in. You can see there is options there for auth, which we're not going to do at the moment. We'll come back to that later, and we'll hit import. You can see this will spin for a little while, and then it will give us a link. Well, it will give us a button that we can click on that will let us see that code that has now been imported. So we'll go ahead and click that. You can see there's our code. Next we're going to migrate this repo to another project in the same organization. So we'll head over to Project Awesome and create a new repo there called repo from Azure. Again, we won't use the README for this. We are going to need the clone URL from that repo that we created, so we'll just go back into the default project and grab that clone URL, and then we'll head to that repo that we've recently just created and again use the import repo dialog. So we're going to paste that in. Note we don't need authentication here again. The reason for this in this case though is that that default project is actually a public project in Azure DevOps, so it doesn't require any authentication to do that clone. And if we hit the button, you can see there's our code again. So next, let's go and grab a repo that is in a private project inside Azure DevOps. So I'm going to head off to one of my other organizations, and we'll go and grab my blog, which is a little bit more meaty than just a little console application. So we're going to grab that clone URL, and then we're going to create another repo here, and we'll call it repo from org and Azure. And then we'll again not use the README and click create. Hit import again, paste that URL in, and try to do the import. You'll notice that it gives us an error and basically says that we require authentication. So we'll go and create a PAT token from that other organization. Do new PAT token. We'll give it a name quickly. We want it to be scoped to the Beaming org, so we'll leave that. You can see we left it as 30 days. That doesn't matter because I'll delete it after this demo. And the only scope that we needed to give it is read for code. So we'll copy that token, we'll go back and paste it into the password field and click import. You can see this is going ahead and doing an import, and you'll also notice that this takes slightly longer than the previous import. That's because it's a slightly bigger repo. But once it's done, we can click the button again and we can see that our code is there just like before. So next what we're going to do is we're going to do effectively that same import, but we're going to use the command line locally. So we'll just go back to that repo again and grab the clone URL. And then we'll open up the previous project and create a repo that we are going to put that into. So repo from CMD, click create, head over to Windows Terminal. And sometimes you will need to do this, say potentially when your project lives behind a firewall locally, you might need to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull down that repo using the clone command, specifying the mirror arguments. Cool, and it's done. So now we're going to go and fetch the clone URL for the repo that we want to push this to, and we're going to just use the push command, again specifying the mirror argument. I'm going to paste that in, but obviously we'll need to be inside that directory, so we'll just cd into that directory quickly and then run that push command again. On my local machine, I'm currently not authenticated to this project in Azure DevOps, but because I have the credentials stored locally for this Microsoft account, I should just need to put in my Microsoft account's email address, and it'll pick up the authentication from my local machine, which it does, and it will continue doing that push. You can see here from this output that there's a whole bunch of new tags that were created, and this is just showing that, like, obviously we are pulling all branches and all tags when we do that mirror operation. And if we refresh inside the browser and we take a look at the tags, you'll notice that we do have all those same tags in Azure DevOps. And although it's probably obvious, but we'll just switch back to the previous repo that we had cloned across or imported across, and again we'll take a look at the tags there, and you'll see that we have those tags in that repo as well. Thank you for watching this video on how to migrate Git repos to Azure DevOps. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, catch me on Twitter, or visit my profile page beaming.dev to see where else I am on the internet. Cheers.